Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain, where we are enjoying just a little bit of coffee as we round out the evening. We are halfway through the week on my end as we record. However, I'm not sure when this episode is going to release, but hopefully, whenever it does, it is a good one for you on your end. We are reviewing a book called Porcelain by Jessie Sprague, and it was quite an interesting read. It was definitely one I picked up because it sounded quite creepy. And so, one, I love creepy books. I love things that have like creepy gothic horror thriller vibes. I like to be kind of spooky, like spooky, creeped out kind of. I like a book that gives me the chills. Do I think this book really accomplished that? Not quite. That is probably my one critique. So I probably will put this in the 4-star category. I did get this as a NetGalley release, so it does, or it did publish, because I think by the time I release this episode, it will be did publish on December 10th of 2024. So just kind of letting you guys know that it should be available. I did have it as an ebook. It does look like the Kindle edition is 344 pages. Not that big of a read. I want to say when I was reading it on my Kindle, now it may be because of my font size, I'm not sure, that mine said 297 pages, but again, that may be just my font size is a little smaller, which may be why it took up less pages. But let us dive into the summary and see what we think from there, and we will just review it away. Well, not review it away, but we will give it a review and see what we think. How about that? Her past is bathed in blood, but without trustworthy memories to guide her, her future may be equally drenched in red. 10 years ago, Gabrielle woke up from a blackout covered in blood next to her brutally murdered parents. Certain that her porcelain doll was the killer, she nevertheless clung to it because it was only protecting her, wasn't it? After years of therapy, living in institutions, and lots of medication, Gabrielle has made enough progress to enroll at the University of Washington. She just wants to be normal. A normal doll is just a doll, after all. But when she's pressured at a date's house, she blacks out again and wakes up next to her date's bloody corpse with the doll. Worse, her brother's new boyfriend is the homicide detective on the case. Despite her brother's faith in her, she's left seeing two possibilities. Either she's a killer or her doll is. With her past catching up to her, Gabrielle is determined to find answers. If she doesn't discover the truth, the only people she loves and the only one who loves her could be her next victims. So she'll do whatever she has to, even if that means going to jail for murder to save them. So I will say this book, I had only read like that first line of her past is bathed in blood. And when I was on NetGalley, I saw this really creepy cover and I'm going to put it over here, the one that I saw on NetGalley, because I don't think the Goodreads one, just looking at it, that is not the one that I saw on Goodreads, on NetGalley. So the one that I have here is the one that I found on NetGalley, and it just gave me these super creepy haunted house vibes. I wanted to be creeped out by like this doll scuttling around the corner at every turn. I wanted to find this thing like sitting in the kitchen staring at you in the dark. And I don't know. I just feel as though I didn't get that mindset. I, as a reader, did not get placed into these situations where I was sufficiently creeped out. And I love a good kind of creeped out moment. So, because I guess there's not a lot of situations in where I do get those good spooky vibes. I don't know. There's times where Gabrielle and her roommate Cinder are talking about the doll, and Gabrielle is talking kind of like she wants to get rid of the doll. But Cinder's like, no, you don't have to get rid of it. You can just like cleanse, like, do it a purifying sort of thing, and it should be fine. And I'm like, why is Cinder trying to convince her not to get rid of the doll? It sounds as though, like, I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth with this book, and some people don't seem her to want her to get rid of the doll. Some people do want her to get rid of the doll. Gabrielle herself is on the fence because she swears she loves this doll. And I'm like, I'm very torn by a lot of different things that happen in this book. So we first open with Gabrielle going home with this guy kind of on the first date. And Gabrielle does not even know where this guy like lives. So I'm kind of curious, did he just drive her straight to his house? How did she get here, sort of thing? Cuz at this particular moment she doesn't have a car or anything at his house. So I'm guessing he just drove her straight to his house, and now like they're kind of sitting on the couch, and he has this like big 12-foot python, and he's kind of getting her drunk. And so I'm just sitting here going, girl, this is just a like bad news altogether. But Gabrielle in her mind is like, oh, well, other people do this, so it's totally fine. I'm totally in control. This is all good. This is not a bad situation, sort of thing. And I just like, from the very beginning, it's very clear that Gabrielle does not make very good choices. Or she's very naive in her choice making. Um, I I don't really know like how else to describe it with regards to that, because you just see throughout the book she makes some very poor decisions with regards to various things, not taking her medications consistently, not being clear with her communications, or kind of being open about various things that are going on. She's having visions, and it may or may not be hallucinations regarding her not taking her medication. So there are a lot of things going on that she's, again, not very clear about. So we, as the reader, are almost a little. It, I was kind of taken out of it a couple of times because of how scattered it felt a little bit. And I wanted to be sufficiently scared. Now, Michael, her brother, he is older than her, and they both have these sort of angel wings, I believe, tattooed on them, like I think on their backs, because they were both named after archangels, per a conversation that Gabrielle has with, I believe, this guy Joe. And so she just talks about how, like, yeah, she has angel wings because, her and her brother are named after archangels. Her mother was, like, very religious. And she also has a tattoo on her arm of, like, the pearly gates. And that's supposed to represent this guy named Peter, because, like, St. Peter and the pearly gates sort of things. And that comes up a little later as well, because apparently Peter has been kind of like a best friend to her since she was maybe 12-ish, but they've kind of had a strained friendship slash situation, because even though they've had feelings for each other, they've never pursued anything, because both of them seem slightly mentally unstable in their own ways. And apparently he never sought treatment until about 6 months prior to when this book kind of starts taking place. So they had not really seen or talked to each other for like 6 months prior to all of these events kind of culminating or starting to happen. So it's very interesting, because now at this point Peter's coming back into the scene as well, and it does seem he is healthier, but 6 months into treatment and therapy and things of that nature is still not fully healed. It's probably at a point where you're feeling better, your mind is more clear, and you are feeling like you're working towards a really good point, depending on where you were. However, it is really subjective to each individual person, and it's also definitely a good thing to stay on track and to just be honest with yourself about needing to stay focused on your own personal journey. However, it seems as though they may not be super good for each other. They may almost be a little bit of a crutch for each other in different ways. That's not incredibly healthy. But that was my perspective on how that kind of friendship seemed to be. And then it comes down to her roommate, Cinder. Cinder, I don't know if Michael, her brother, found Cinder to be Gabrielle's roommate, to maybe have someone to, I don't know, keep an eye on her perhaps. But Cinder, she's a friend, but also doesn't seem to be 100% on board half the time. Almost a little bit like she maybe doesn't want to be there half the time, or isn't fully bought in, or I don't know. The friendship is very tense in certain situations. And I think Cinder does enjoy the occult, which I have no problem with, but we also have Gabrielle, who's sitting here thinking her doll may be possessed, who's sitting here thinking that her doll may have offed some people, especially may have offed her own parents. And now Gabrielle wants to destroy this doll, and Cinder's like, oh no, we can just purify it. Maybe we can just put some holy water on it and it'll be fine. Or we don't have to destroy it, we can just bury it. And I'm like, I think a person who maybe kind of runs in the realm of the occult may be aware that a possible possessed item should probably be destroyed in some sort of appropriate way. If there's a chance, it's very probable that this item should maybe be taken far away, like especially if there's any sort of attachments. I watch too many spooky ghost shows on YouTube. Now, yes, they are probably 100% silly and unreal. I don't care. The simple imagination of it is where I find the enjoyment. So please and thank you. I will continue to watch my spooky ghost shows. However, that's just kind of that's kind of what is rotating around Gabrielle as she is kind of going through all this stuff, because now this particular summary makes it seem as though she goes to her date's house and then boom, wakes up from that very same night and Joe is dead. Like, that does not happen. What happens is she wakes up the next morning, Joe drives her home, and a few days later she somehow blacks out in the middle of the quad at school, wakes up at Joe's house, and he is now not alive. And she finds herself in the middle of the investigation. Did she do it? I'm not going to reveal anything because I'm going to let you guys determine if you want to figure that out or not. I don't give a ton of spoilers. I do try to keep it above the last fourth of the book. That is kind of my goal, is to keep it to keep from giving away all of the events that happened and how things play out. However, I think I've given you enough of the build-up that leads to everything, but it's a very wild ride. But for me, it was just a little bit muddled because everybody has different conflicting opinions and ideas about what Gabrielle should do, and especially with this investigation going on by the detectives, it feels as though there's almost not enough reaction from some people. Like, some people are underreacting by a lot, and some people are I don't know, I don't think they're overreacting. I just feel like they're just kind of pretending like things are fine. So it's a very interesting situation. I do think at least one of the cops is crazy biased, and that's not a level of integrity that you want on a police force. If you want a good, appropriate investigation, then you cannot be biased one way or the other. You need to go in with a clear head and an unbiased, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, according to all cop shows that I have watched. Whether that actually plays out or not, you'll just have to find out for yourself. But with all of that being said, I still give it a 4 stars because I was fairly intrigued and was reading right up to the end to find out, is it the doll? Is it the girl? Is it someone else? What's going on? Well, I found out, but now you'll have to as well. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you'll like and subscribe. Someone left the kindest comment the other day, and I just want to give a shout out to them for being so lovely. They said that the quality of content that came off my channel was on par with that of bigger channels, and I really, really want to thank them because that felt really good to hear. I do try to be just as honest, open, and forthcoming with my comments and commentary. I just try to tell it like I read it, and I do try to just be my honest, authentic self. So I'm so thankful that it seems to be hitting some people in the right spots. Again, if y'all ever want me to review any specific books or specific authors, please let me know. I do take recommendations, and so yeah, let me know. And I do have an email that I almost always link at the very end, and I will be happy to take a look, or you can just leave a comment and just let me know what you're thinking. So I will talk to you guys later, and I will see you on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.